Hello and welcome. I'm Al Barrows, and this is UFO Disclosure, the podcast that's meant to show an average person's reaction to all the UAP, UFO news from everywhere and anywhere. Today, I'll be covering a story that I found on the Stories Lost podcast. It involves someone who had an encounter with a plasma fiery type orb UAP back in 1970. And you might ask, what are these plasma-like orbs exactly? Well, they've been around for a while. I found this article on daily.com, and it's by Josh Boswell. This is what initially got me interested in these plasma-like orb UAPs. And this is an exclusive by Josh Boswell. It's about a John F. Kennedy advisor who revealed that the U.S. Navy secretly shot down and retrieved an orb-like UFO during a 1962 missile test. Harold Malgrim was a senior advisor to John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford. He said that he was briefed by top CIA and Atomic Energy Commission officials on a videotaped missile test that took place during the Cuban Missile Crisis of October 1962, during which the shocking UFO incident occurred. And you can see the orb-like, plasma-like UAP here. Here is a plasma-like UAP that I found on TikTok. At the end of last year and the beginning of this year, there were a lot of drone sightings. And along with those drone sightings were a lot of sightings of what they called plasmoids, or plasma-like UAP.
Recently, headlines have been buzzing about unidentified drones over New Jersey, a mystery fueling speculation that these drones may be tracking plasmoids, enigmatic plasma-like entities potentially tied to unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs.
And here's one of those plasma UAPs that actually turns into an aerial vehicle.
There it is. Come on.
Okay, so when it comes out of the trees, it actually turns into some sort of a craft.
Now it's hovering over my other neighbor's house. There we go. Now
Okay,
it's
see
more
how
red.
it has lights on it. So these plasma orb-like UAPs have been around for a while, and they're just recently getting more attention. The story that I'm about to comment on involves a plasma-like UAP. In the story, it's actually described as a fiery orb or sphere. It happened in 1970 in Norway while a gentleman was driving home from a business trip. On October the 29th, 1970, Radar Salveson was driving home from a business trip. Around 4:40 p.m., as he passed a small town, dusk had just set in and a light snowfall had begun. He turned his parking lights on and was deep in thought when about 3 kilometers or 1.9 miles past the town he just went by, he was hit by an unbelievably bright light. Suddenly, he was blinded by a light of unimaginable intensity. Even though it was only twilight, he was forced to stop the car because of the powerful light, which seemed much stronger than any arc welding or flame that he had ever seen. When Salveson opened his car door slightly to investigate, he saw a glowing fireball or plasma-like sphere moving slowly toward his car before it stopped just in front of him. The fireball, which he estimated to be about 20 millimeters in diameter, or about 66 feet in diameter, was so bright that it was hard to gauge its size. As soon as he stepped out of the car, the light disappeared, revealing a disc-shaped object. This disc-shaped object hovered silently above 10 millimeters, or about 22 feet above the ground. It had no visible openings or distinguishing marks, and its surface was mirror-like, with a steel blue sheen surrounding the disc which was 50 centimeters wide, or about 20 inches. This wide gold colored band surrounded the whole sphere, and both its underside and topside featured small domes about 2 millimeters in diameter, or about 6.5 feet in diameter. Salveson was first and foremost astonished, but immediately thought that this was something important that he would hardly get another chance to see. So, believe it or not, he took out a piece of paper and pencil and began noting down his observations. He compared its size and estimated the machine's diameter to be about 10 centimeters, or about 33 feet. He also judged the height, and he judged the height to be about 3 to 3.5 centimeters, or about 10 feet at the thickest part in the center, and about 50 centimeters, or 10 feet at the outer edge. Salveson quickly began taking notes, carefully recording details of the object's size and appearance. He felt, strangely enough, no fear, only astonishment. He didn't notice any signs of life, vibrations, or sounds, and despite closely inspecting the craft, he saw no doors or windows. While continuing his observations, Salveson suddenly felt himself knocked off balance. Though he didn't experience any pain or pressure, he managed to catch himself with his hand as he fell. So this is an odd incident in the story where he, for some reason, falls, and then his car is affected as well. Not sure whether this was wiped from his memory, but he's not sure exactly what caused him to fall. He caught himself with his hand as he fell. He was standing near the open door, taking notes while observing the object. Suddenly he was knocked halfway over. He was able to catch himself with his right hand, preventing a full fall. The object was still completely motionless. He didn't even feel a breeze. So as he was falling, he heard the windshield somehow being pushed in. His windshield was pulverized, and most of it ended up inside the car. Salveson scrambled to his feet, and the object all of a sudden shot upwards. In a flash, within 2 to 33 seconds, he caught a glimpse of it as a single streak in the sky. He estimated its height at that moment to be about 1,000 meters, or 3,280 feet. It was then surrounded by a powerful light and disappeared. The next second, almost immediately after Salveson got back to his feet, the object shot into the sky in a flash. He caught a glimpse of it ascending at incredible speed before being enveloped in light and disappearing from view. Regaining his composure, Salveson examined his car. After collecting himself a bit, he removed the rubber seal where the windshield had been and emptied it of the last bits of glass. He checked the time and realized he needed to hurry to reach where he was going. He arrived exactly at 5 p.m. and got a piece of plastic to replace the windshield. That way he managed to continue on his way. Later that evening, in the days following the event, Salveson noticed some unusual physical effects. Immediately after the sighting, he had a strange numb sensation in his tongue and parts of his face similar to the feeling after dental anesthesia. He suffered some minor scrapes on his hand as well from his fall. In a later interview, Salveson admitted that the intense light left him temporarily blinded for 2 to 3 days. He could barely see, especially in daylight, and the whites of his eyes were red. This sensitivity to light persisted for about a week. He also found a round, dull spot on the roof of his car after the incident. Though he didn't think much of it at first, samples of the paint and glass were later sent to Oslo for scientific analysis. The Norwegian Army also took an interest in the case, conducting their own Geiger counter tests on the vehicle. Additionally, the Air Force confirmed that no flights had been operating in the area at the time of this encounter. Salveson's credibility as a witness was thoroughly examined by local media, especially by Christian Zahn Tenda and its editor, Halvor Tescos vouched for Salon's credibility, noting that he was cautious about sharing his story with the press. Initially, Salveson had even declined to speak to reporters, choosing instead to report the incident directly to the police. It was only with the police chief's permission that Tesco was able to publish the story. The encounter with the flying saucer left Salveson speechless for quite some time. He avoided reporters. He was also overwhelmed by the interest by the media in his encounter. Later on, Salveson compiled a 5-page supplementary report, which he submitted to the police. Salveson emphasized in this document that there was no doubt in his mind that what he saw was something manufactured. It wasn't a meteor or some sort of a celestial body, because he was very close to it. He saw it clearly and distinctly. Remember, it was right over his car, and he had enough time to take notes and draw a sketch of it. He also said that the object was very beautiful, and he thought that it was a pleasure to look at it. He said that it was unusually smooth with no irregularities, sort of like what we hear from a lot of UFO reports, that the crafts are molded in one piece. They have no rivets, no endpoints, no seams or irregularities, no imperfections whatsoever. And in his opinion, it was perfect in its construction, right down to its form. He also thought that the object was definitely manned, if not directly, somehow remotely, because it was able to keep a close proximity but not crash into his car. It stopped precisely above the car, and afterward it slid a few meters in front of the car. This gave him a perfect position to observe it. It also would have given anybody inside of this UAP a perfect observation point to watch him and observe him. He also pointed out in his report that he was never harmed, the object never attacked him. He was very calm while he was taking his notes. He never had any fear or dread. He actually said that he would like to experience it again. So what was it that Salveson saw back in 1970 on that lonely road? Was that plasma or fiery orb UAP? Was it non-human intelligence? Or could it possibly be something high-tech that our U.S. military is working on and is classified? I ran across this article in Forbes. It's by David Hambling, and it's about U.S. Navy lasers creating plasma UFOs. Apparently, the Navy is using these plasma UFO orbs in order to create a decoy while they're in combat. And I'll just read the first paragraph here. The U.S. Navy has technology to create mid-air images to fool infrared and other sensors. This builds on many years of laser plasma research and offers a game-changing method of protecting aircraft from heat-seeking missiles. It may also provide a clue about the source of some recent UFO sightings by military aircraft. And this article in Forbes was written by David Hambling on May the 11th, 2020. Okay, so 50 years after Salveson has had his encounter in Norway, but could it possibly have been some sort of technology that we've been working on and just now perfected that Salveson saw back then in 1970? I thought it was interesting since plasmoids were also seen during the whole drone incident over New Jersey this past year. I hope you enjoyed that. My name is Al Barrows. This has been UFO Disclosure. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.